What solutions are there from Canada, from the United States? I want to bring in two special guests now. Lynette Ong is a political scientist from the University of Toronto, and John Manley, the former Liberal Foreign Affairs Minister, joins us now. Good to have both of you here. John Manley, I want to start with you because I remember it was on this program about a year and a half ago where you talked about creative incompetence, and you said Canada should have just let Meng Wanzhou go because now we're caught. Now the trials have started. It's too late for that. What leverage does Canada have, if anything, right now to help the two Michaels who are facing this perilous situation?
They still have Meng Wanzhou, and that could ultimately still be a factor in releasing the two Michaels. But Evan, I'm going to be the optimist here tonight because what I would say is that the proceeding to trial was a necessary step toward ultimately getting the freedom of the two Michaels. China was never going to admit that this was a quid pro quo for Meng Wanzhou. They were always going to insist that these men had committed heinous crimes. And until they take them through their process and get convictions and probably quite harsh sentences, they will not release them. Our hope, and we've seen this in the past with China, our hope should be that once they've done all of what they're about to do, which is almost certainly a conviction, that then they will pardon them and release them and send them back. I don't think that'll happen while Meng Wanzhou is in Canadian custody, but it could happen once this process is done.
Wow, that is a dangerous game. Lynette Ong, what's your view on that?
Thank you for having me. So first of all, I think this is, like you have said, this is a political trial. So this is not any sort of average criminal trials in China. So whatever the statistics that people have been saying, 99.2% conviction rate may or may not apply to this trial for that reason, because we know that there are political considerations behind convicting them, behind arresting them. So that said, and even though if there was a guilty conviction and sentencing, what ultimately happened to the two Michaels, I think we are not certain. They could delay the sentencing. They could deport it. I think a range of situations may actually happen. From my perspective, this is not the time, I think, to give up all our hope just yet. And in terms of solution, I think the very fact that the Chinese get into this game is because of the arm wrestling going on between U.S. and China, and Canada being caught in between. So I think our government should be pressing its U.S. counterparts very hard, that the lives of the two Michaels are absolute priority. You know, it is actually more important than trade, technology, whatever considerations that the U.S. government has right now. I think all those issues could be solved after we have secured the release of the two Michaels.
All right, just last word, John Manley. Should Canada take any steps in the meantime, any harsher steps? Should we expect the U.S. to do anything, or should Canada say, you know what, we're going to get out of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, we're going to start sanctions, we're going to, bar Huawei from 5G?
Well, of course, any of those things is unlikely to move China on this point. And so, as is the case when we look at how we're going to impose sanctions on the U.S. when they do things to us, generally speaking, we suffer more harm than we cause them. No, I think this is a time for continued relentless diplomacy. I think aligning our friends and allies around the world on this cause has been a very important step. And I think we should be urging the United States to weigh in heavily on it.
Okay, I have to unfortunately cut this off, Lynette Ong, Joyce Napier, and John Manley, because the top diplomat in the U.S., Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, is actually beginning meetings with the Chinese foreign minister happening now in Anchorage, Alaska. And I want to show you the first face-to-face meeting with these two people. The detention of Canada's two Michaels, of course, as we're talking about, is supposed to come up in the talk. The two men, of course, as we've just been saying, have been detained for more than 2 years. Let's listen in.
Domestic and global. so that China can better understand our administration's intentions and approach. We'll also discuss our deep concerns with actions by China, including in Xinjiang, Hong Kong, Taiwan, cyber attacks on the United States, economic coercion toward our allies. Each of these actions threaten the rules-based order that maintains global stability. That's why they're not merely internal matters and why we feel an obligation to raise these issues here today. I've said that the United States relationship with China will be competitive where it should be, collaborative where it can be, adversarial where it must be. Our discussions here in Alaska, I suspect, will run the gamut. Our intent is to be direct about our concerns, direct about our priorities, with the goal of a more clear-eyed relationship between our countries moving forward. Thank you for being here.
Okay, that is the statement from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, as he meets face-to-face for the first time with his Chinese counterpart.